I had the most important experience and outcome of my whole life out of anything I've ever done. This medicine, I thought I felt good when I arrived here, by the way. I'm super healthy. My life is great. I've got wonderful people around me. My career is going really well. Like everything is good. And I felt good. And now I know that wasn't true. So I felt as good as I'd ever felt when I arrived here. Actually, the last year I've had a very good year. I felt like literally this is the best year of my life. Now I look and I was like, that poor man. Yeah. So now what does that mean for today? Maybe this is the best I've ever felt, but not the best I'll ever feel, you know? So is there more? So my name is Charlie Goldsmith, and came to Beond because I've had some pain or trauma in me for as far back as I can remember, and I had really spent a lot of the last 15 plus years doing various things to try and heal it. And I heard about this medicine and started following the social media and learning more about it, and eventually I've been fortunate enough to come here. And before I came here, I was super nervous about what the experience could be like, so much so that I delayed coming for a year. And then eventually, and having sort of heard more stories about other people's experiences, I decided that it was worth a try because of the outcomes people were getting. And so I came here, but very nervous. And honestly, I had the most important experience and outcome of my whole life out of anything I've ever done. It is absolutely at the top of what has helped me with the thing that I couldn't reach before and I didn't know how to. I think it's really important that I say that my fears of the experience were unfounded. It was hard, but it was within a level of hard, was not something that was too hard, like it would be something hard like I'd experienced in normal life. It wasn't some extreme thing that was beyond my ability. And so for anyone interested in doing this, I would say that any fears around the experience, really, they don't need to be there. Like, yes, it is hard. It goes for a long time, but it's worth every second by a million miles. Before doing the Ibogaine, I had multiple ayahuasca retreats and ceremonies trying to achieve the same result. And I did get some incredible benefits, but I never actually solved the problem that I wanted to. And so when I went to Ibogaine and got it done in one go, that has just blown my mind, but also the difference in experience is really interesting. I was really nervous because ayahuasca is like, if 0 is now and 10 is the most intense otherworldly experience you can have, ayahuasca is the 10. It is so different to our normal experience that it's like you're almost like on a roller coaster hanging on. And the benefits of you surrender and hang on are really enormous, but it's not always easy to do. Sometimes you don't, and that's where people have very difficult experiences and they can shake you. And I'd still say the benefits are worth the risk in terms of the experience. But the difference that I experienced with Ibogaine is that it went, like for every second that it went, it was hard, it was hard, but not crazy hard, So if ayahuasca is a 10, it was a 2. Every second, not so hard. So if it lasted for 20 seconds, you'd be like, that was nothing. The thing that was hard about it is that it went for hours. And so a 2 out of 10, 14 hours or whatever I did, it's hard. You're tired and it's a lot, but it was very manageable. And that's in stark contrast to ayahuasca. It is, you come out of it like, whoa, it's like so strong. So I would say that anyone who's worried about the intensity is low, duration is long, so you've got to have a little staying power. But I knew through the experience that I knew the moment it had changed my life in it. I saw the change in my brain happen, and it was worth every second, So I was like, when I got here, I was asking everyone to explain to me the experience because I was so scared it was going to be as strong as ayahuasca. I was like, my God, if it's the same as ayahuasca but goes for 14 hours, I don't know if I want to do this. If that was the case, I actually might have left, seriously. But yeah, it was so far from that, Like, I'll put it this way, every time I have ayahuasca, I'm so nervous, but I do it anyway because I've wanted to improve as a human, but so like shaking taking this medicine. And if I was going to do Ibogaine again, which I most certainly certainly will at some point, I would have zero nerves before it, zero for the experience. And I'd be super excited for whatever the outcomes are going to be based on that. So just the last thing I'll say about it is I feel like it's that mild intensity and a hard conversation. So it's like sitting with someone that knows everything about you and it's saying, you did this, you did that, this is why you did this, this is why you did that. And you're having to listen, you can't ignore it, and having to hear things that are hard, but very similar to if any human to human conversation would have been. It's not different to that. It's not louder than that. It's not yelling at you. It's just saying, you did this, you did that, you did this. And having that happen for a whole night, it is a lot. It's a lot. That's why people say it's hard. In fact, it's well within hard norms that you experience. There's lots of things that I experience in this world that are so much harder than that experience. I can't even tell you. I feel like what I learned about, this pain in me that, I was doing everything I could to manage, what happened was I spent the next couple of days getting a lot of insight into understanding why I had this, how I could actually fix it in myself moving forward, like with other similar things where you've got a heightened emotion that just won't shut up. I'm stressed, I'm stressed, I'm stressed, I'm unhappy, I'm unhappy, I'm unhappy. And no matter what you do, this voice in your head is incessantly telling you how to feel. Even if you look at your life and go, this isn't like the way this voice in my head is telling me I feel, like my life is good, I've got a beautiful wife and kids or whatever you have, but the voice is continually telling you, and that's essentially what I had, and so really the next few days I got real insight into what that was, how to deal with it, and so it doesn't happen again. So that was also great. Not only did it reintegrate my thoughts so there wasn't an outlier that was just, constantly telling me its needs that didn't match the rest of mine. Yeah. It's super cool. When you Google Ibogaine or when you learn about it, often you see, these success stories from people who have been addicted to very hard drugs. And I wasn't one of those people. I don't drink, I don't take drugs, I don't do anything like that. And so I didn't fit into that category. But the reason that I wanted to do it is that even though I don't do those things, I still felt like, well, if it can take away the trauma that makes these people pacify trauma with hard drugs, then I think that still applies to me, because I still have those things just because I'm not self-destructive with them. And I definitely was when I was younger, but I learned to have a super healthy life and not be self-destructive. But the actual reasons that I was self-destructive when I was in my teens and early 20s still existed. I still had those negative feelings, those thoughts that I would argue with, and it still came through. Like I found, like I became, even though I didn't have those addictions that we consider like the big addictions, I still, became addicted to my phone and just would find that I just used it way, way too much, to the point of like massive life disruption. And some people are addicted to food. And I was one of those people. So I'm so healthy with my diet, and anything that I would overeat, I wouldn't buy. So like I used to like eat one blueberry and then eat like a kilo of blueberries. I couldn't stop. So I just wouldn't have blueberries in the house. So every time I saw an addiction in me, I would keep the thing away from me. And I knew that if I had one blueberry, I'd have the 100. I can't have one. Right? Which is a really interesting thing. So really that's why I did it. I knew that that behavior in me, even though it was well contained, if I gave it an inch, it would take a mile. So that benefit has happened. So like even my phone use in the last week since doing the treatment has gone from embarrassing to minutes a day. And when I've used the phone, it's been phone calls talking to my loved ones about the experience I've had here, but it's been on the phone. I'll just give one last example. For like, if I was on the phone before and I was sitting here on the phone, like I took my phone here and I'm on the phone, I would put the phone on speaker and I'd open social media. So I'm talking to someone, scrolling. And what I noticed is immediately after the treatment, I made hours worth of phone calls to the mother of my children and others that mattered to me, that I needed to express things I had learned and from the experience. And not once did I take the phone off my ear, not once. And what was so embarrassing about doing that is when I would do it, I wouldn't even know I was doing it until they said, Charlie, you're doing something else, aren't you? And then I would realize. So it was like autopilot, like I'd sit here and next thing my phone's in my hand And I didn't know. I think for anyone that's honest with themselves, very few people don't have something that is their thing that they either doing to the point of addiction or they're having to avoid so they don't. So they're living a boundaried life where they don't have the blueberries in the house so they don't overeat them. But then what's happening is there's still an addiction sitting there, gnawing at them that they're fighting. So essentially there's like a permanent argument in their head all the time. It's not peaceful because part of them is like, let's go and get the thing. And the other part is like, we don't do that. So then it's not peaceful. So that's the thing I've noticed since doing it is it's just, I'm not having an argument in my head. So one of the massive standouts at this place was not only do they facilitate a medicine that has changed my life 100%, but they have a service here which is equal to the medicine. It feels so safe and diligent, almost to the point of like this robotic perfection I've actually almost never seen in another business. I have a business that has 70 staff, and so I know to be well organized is not easy. Very few businesses do it. And I noticed, I really noticed during the treatment, because you're very aware during the treatment, the consistency in the way they went about things. It was like the army. I really felt safe, and this medicine needs to be administered with a lot of care and rules from, they've got to make sure your heart is safe during it and take a lot of precautions and a lot of testing to test levels of various things. And I was almost just in awe of the precision that was from end to end. It was inspiring, just that bit, and yeah, it was. And I'd heard other people say this in their videos as well, the ones I had seen. And yeah, it is very true. Like I used to walk into an Apple store and look and think, this is the most well-organized business I've ever seen. Perfect stores, beautiful, amazing looking products. And I would put that above any other company, like the consistency of the way they help you with their product. Most companies don't help you with their product. You get the product, you get online tutorials, you go into an Apple store, they help you with everything. And so like it was a real benchmark for me of like what it must take, the size of that business to be as perfect as it is. And what I witnessed here was an Apple store of this treatment, really. Like I've never seen anything like it. So I think that we have such a separation between that. If you think about someone who's, a fentanyl addict, you're in LA at the moment, you drive around, there's people like frozen in the streets. And I look at them and I think they are so different from me. So different from me, those poor things. How could they get like this? It's unimaginable. And I can't imagine it. And yet we have addictions everywhere. Eating too much food, using the phone too much, needing a bottle of wine at night or a glass of wine at night just to relax, a certain food that we just can't help but keep eating. All these things are actually the same thing. It just happens that your addiction craves that, and their addiction, for it to feel good, craves the thing they have. And so really, we're all just a couple of unfortunate experiences away from the worst kind of addiction, but we're not different. And the addictions, no matter how mild they are, down to, from heroin to phone addiction, still taking us away from life, from our children, from our friends, from being able to watch a TV show and concentrate the whole time. So we're not that different from the people who we look at different because the thing that they're doing is something that isn't our craving. And so I think that if you're honest with yourself, you will see your addictions, or you may be someone who has control of your addictions, but they're still there doing your head in. So, one of the things I've learned from this is enormous compassion for any addiction. I understand all of them now, every one of them. I understand it because I've come to understand the ones I had. It made me understand the ones other people have. I'm in this center with people who have these extreme addictions, and it's really been quite incredible to sit with them and get to know many of them while I've been here the last week, and not have this idea that we're different. We're not, just a couple of unfortunate events. I think Ibogaine treatment at this time, you can see there is a more and more information coming out, particularly for people addicted to heavy drugs. That's the information at the moment, even though I know the broadness of it is more far reaching. But, I think from my experience that this should be, available really to everyone. And if it is run as well as this place, wherever you find it, then I would think there's no single person that shouldn't look at themselves and see, am I perfect? Am I totally clear in the head? Am I choosing all my choices, or are addictions making me, I wanted one piece of chocolate and I ate the chocolate bar. I'm trying to lose weight and I exercise and I calorie restrict for a week, and then I can't help but binge eat and I undo all my work. 70% of people are overweight, so 70% of you know exactly what I'm saying. And the interesting thing is, everyone that overeats, they say they love food, but inside their head, they hate that they do it. If you're honest with yourself, you know that there's something in you that when it wants something, you can't stop it. You can hold it for a few days sometimes, even a month, but then it comes back and you yo-yo and yo-yo. So, from really across the board, where you're not in control of your choices, even if it's most of them, it only takes one to unravel so many parts of your life. This medicine, even if I feel incredible, I thought I felt good when I arrived here, by the way. I'm super healthy. My life is great. I've got wonderful people around me. My career is going really well. Like, everything is good. And I felt good. And now I know that wasn't true. So I felt as good as I'd ever felt when I arrived here. Actually, the last year, I've had a very good year. I felt like literally this is the best year of my life. Now I look and I was like, that poor man. Yeah. So now, what does that mean for today? Maybe this is the best I've ever felt, but not the best I'll ever feel, So is there more? Beyond is beyond, it's like it is. I hoped for an extraordinary outcome and I got beyond what I hoped. I had expectations that were, beyond what I could. It's like if you want something and it will be good for you, but you don't know what that's going to feel like. So I want this thing and I can't imagine because I've never had it, but I know it will be great. And so my expectations were, unimaginable to me. And it was beyond, truly, I'm not being cheesy, it was truly well beyond anything I could have expected, really. I hope everyone gets the opportunity. I hope the words I've said, that you can handle how hard it is not too hard. I think anyone could. I'm sure there's some people that through, health issues and stuff, it might not be the medicine for them in terms of, but I think anyone who is physically capable of doing this medicine, I think should do it, unless they're perfect. If you're perfect, you don't need to. But I'll tell you this, I feel kind of perfect today. And knowing what I know that I only think I'm perfect today, I might not be.